Hello YouTube friends, Dr. Teresa Ulrich here again. Well, I waited another 24 hours and it doesn't look like any brine has hatched. So when we're looking inside here, I see some floating eggs, but I don't see anything swimming. I did put that other light on the vessel here, and the water is definitely warmer. It's quite warm, in fact, so it should have been more than warm enough to hatch something out. So either it's the vessel itself or the eggs are just too old. So what I've done is I've taken my old standby hatcher. I have some bleach water running in it right now to clean out all the old bacteria and buildup. It's really important to maintain sanitization when you're hatching your brine, because as I mentioned in another video, this bacteria, which is harmful if it builds up in the tank, not the good colonizing bacteria for nitrification, but infection-causing bacteria can cause problems for the seahorses if this type builds up in the tank. So what I have here is basically an old base, and at the base plugs in an air hose, and then you just cut off the top of a 2-liter bottle and you screw it into the bottom here at the base. And what I do is I take a piece of pantyhose and I use it as sort of like a band to hold the airline tubing up, because otherwise as soon as you stop the aeration, all the liquid that's inside of the bottle here runs down and starts to come out and siphon out through the air tubing. Sometimes I want that depending on how I'm collecting the napoli, but when I'm hatching and stopping the hatch process to make adjustments, I certainly don't want that to happen. So this is going to be my last ditch effort here. I am going to pour the mixture into this hatching vessel. I really did love the idea of using this glass vessel. I'm going to have to empty some water out here. But it wasn't as convenient as I thought it might be. It's actually more convenient to use this old hatcher that I have. And the reason it wasn't quite so convenient is because I had trouble keeping that straight air tubing secure while it was hatching in here. It was moving around a lot, and I felt that that just was an invitation for things to fall over. So I'm just going to give it one more day. The water is nice and warm. This light, I told you, it's one of those old-fashioned bulbs, a 60 or 75 watt bulb in some old lamp that I picked up at a thrift store, I'm sure for a nominal amount. And when this bulb is gone, I don't think I have another one. I may have to look up a special kind of bulb, specially designed to create heat, like maybe something not too strong that's used with reptiles or plants or something. But anyway, I'm going to keep the lid on here to prevent it from spraying too much. It's getting excellent aeration coming from the bottom. If it does not hatch, if the brine shrimp eggs do not hatch with this attempt, I definitely have to throw it away. Now it is old, and it's not as though I'm throwing out several tens of dollars. It's one of these vials that you can get probably in most pet stores or fish stores. So probably what I would do is discard the eggs in here and just keep the vial. I just find them handy to use for other things, recycle them in some way. But if this does not work, then we know that it is definitely the eggs and not my setup. I do have some decapsulated brine shrimp on the way. They should be here in time to hatch out before the seahorses get here. decapsulated brine shrimp have a couple of advantages, and I'll talk about that when it comes and I start the hatching process. But one of the advantages is that it does hatch out at a quicker rate than the in-shell kind. If I wasn't clear, I wanted to just make sure you understood why I'm hatching out brine shrimp. The reason is that dwarf seahorses are very hard to train onto non-living foods. I don't know anybody who sells dwarf seahorses, whether they are a large industry or an individual who has successfully weaned dwarf seahorses onto frozen foods. I have heard anecdotes that people have done this, but I've never been able to do it. So I'm hatching live brine food for them, and we'll take a look at it when we actually have some, and you'll see that the seahorses eating is activated by the movement of the food. So we'll talk more about that when we're actually feeding. And I did want to give an update. One of the reasons that I went back to focusing on dwarf seahorses is because I just had so much frustration with the larger tank I was trying to set up, and I couldn't figure out why the water parameters weren't coming into the range that we needed. And I sent a query out to the company that manufactures the canister filter. Apparently that rubber connector series that connects the input and output hoses is not an anomaly to me, where the rubber starts to deteriorate and flake off and then contribute to the water's pollution. So according to the response that I got, the deterioration process causes bacteria to build up, and then it causes the rubber to just start to disintegrate. So I'm guessing this unit that I purchased maybe had been sitting on a shelf for a while and that rubber got old. I haven't looked carefully, but I imagine in the owner's manual it says something about replacing the connectors every so often, maybe once a year. I just can't imagine that those connectors weren't designed for salt water, because most people who use canister filters are using them for salt water. So anyway, that mystery is solved. They are going to send me some replacement connectors, but I've already disassembled the unit, anticipating, even if the company was able to help me out, that it would be some time before that I would receive any kind of replacement. So I just made the decision to simplify. I don't have to worry about a long cycling process with a dwarf tank, because you do mini water changes just about daily anyway. So we'll take a look at that when the seahorses arrive and some of those aquarium keeping duties that come with it. They're fun little creatures, but you really have to know what you're doing. Thanks so much for joining me today and following the saga of seahorse establishment, getting their environment ready, preparing food now for dwarf seahorses, and I'm hoping to have a video very soon where you'll actually get to see some seahorses. Thank you. Take care.